Hello there. Thank you once again for joining us. Um, you are watching and listening to My Darkest Hour. I know some of you guys get confused because we still have the audio feed going to iHeartRadio, and of course, now we have the podcast going to our own site and other places that are streaming it. So you see in the corner, we have Apple iTunes, uh, just pretty much everything. I mean, we're just trying to push it out there and get the information. And it's really awesome because some of the great people that we've been talking to over the past 16 years now, so it's getting crazy. Um, but it's so enthralling. We meet so many people. I meet a lot of people at all the Paracons and the people when I'm doing special events that want to talk. I meet amazing people, and tonight uh, is one of the people that I really, really want to get on the show for a very long time. I've mentioned her on the show before. I did her show a few times, and I am talking about the psychic medium Sheena Metal. Now, a lot of people know about her because she has been doing broadcasting for a very long time. She has 4 different shows herself that she's done, and ones from the past that people have been following. She does a lot of spiritual work. So I thought it'd be great to have her on because when I talked about the Parapod Festival a few weeks back or a few months back, some of the people that I had a quick chance to talk to, she was one of them. And I just thought, part of that Parapod series, I just want to have everybody who I thought was really great. And she's always great. So let's go ahead and bring her on the show and get that going. So let me bring her out of the virtual green room. And I don't even know why they call it a green room. It's not even really green. I do a lot of touring and stuff, and I'm in green rooms all the time. And I haven't even been to a green one yet. So I don't know why they call it green room. So here we go. Bringing her on the show. Hold on. Make sure her mic's on. There you go.
It's the virtual black room.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
waiting,
I like it.
Waiting in the darkness, in the shadows.
It's like being in space. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
Waiting in the ethers for your big arrival.
Yeah. And usually it's all like veggie trays and really junky stuff that's no good for anybody.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I have been in green rooms that were green from, my decades in music, but I wish they weren't because they were an awful green and I wish they were something else.
Yeah, like pea green or something. It's like, really? What's
awful.
going on with this?
Yes, awful.
Makes you feel uncomfortable.
It's to make you feel. Doing? I'm wonderful. I'm good. I love this time of year. I know it's so cliche for spiritual people to say, I love Halloween. But the time of year from the 1st of September to the middle of January 15th is like my favorite time of the year.
Yeah. The fall going into winter.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Yes.
The weather's great.
Loving it.
Oh, it's kind of foggy a little bit.
Love it.
I'm like, yeah, that's my environment. I mean, I totally appreciate the sun for what it does, but if I can get some natural coverage, I am golden.
Yes. I always when I hear fog advisory, when Alexa tells me there's a fog advisory, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get in my car and drive down PCH. Yay, fog advisory.
Totally. It's funny because I was going down the harbor out here by the coast to get home and stuff, and to go to a big show, and I was driving out there, and there was like fog coming across the road. So that was morning because the beach is right there. It's like 20 feet away, the road, and it was all misty and stuff. And I love that. And then coming back later that night, in the middle of the night, once again, here comes the fog. But it's like a different kind of fog that rolls, the night fog that comes in off the ocean.
Yeah,
it's just so cool. And I have a headlight out, so it looked really cool. It was all dark and kind of lit up. And
right.
There's nobody on the road. I'm like, this is so cool. This is a total horror movie right here. Awesome.
Yeah, right. I'm like, well, if I go this way, I'll fall in the ocean. If I go this way, I'll fall in the wetlands. I'm taking my chances.
Yeah. Got to be careful of land sharks running up on me as I'm trying to pass through.
Right. And down here, coyotes. Yes, the coyotes.
You got the
walk up
right
and down the street. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, we don't get them down here much. There's nothing for them to really do. Just a bunch of angry seagulls and stuff like that. It's pretty
I
great.
live right by a wildlife preserve, so they all live there. And then on
Oh,
the
no
other
kidding.
side, on the other side of the wildlife preserve is PCH. So there's this wetlands, and it's a haunted wetlands. And I say that because a couple of years ago they found a 10,000-year-old burial bowl there, which is why they can't develop it, because it's an Indian burial ground. And the area that I live, where my housing tract is built, and this is the house that I grew up in that I moved back to last year. Um, it's I moved here when I was 13. It's technically is part of those wetlands. They built our houses on the wetlands. It sounds like Poltergeist, right? And
Perfect.
so we're literally below sea level. So there's PCH is here, the wetlands are here, and we're down here. So we live under this pocket of these haunted wetlands that separate us from the ocean. And it's an active place, man. I got a lot of salt lamps and a lot of selenite towers in this house,
See?
and a cat to
And all that
stop.
salt water outside is just adding to it, fueling
Oh
it up.
yeah.
That's rad.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing. I mean, you go outside in my front yard after sundown, and it smells like you're at the beach, because there's nothing to stop that breeze from coming in. There's no buildings. It's just the wetlands. So it's actually a beautiful place to live. And when I was young, I couldn't wait to grow up and move to LA. And I love Los Angeles. I love every part of Los Angeles. But I came down here really because of COVID, and I was going to fix this place up and put renters in it. And I think the cat and I were here for about a month. And we're like, we're staying forever, because I just love it. It's amazing. And the energy, the native energy that comes up here that scared me when I was a teenager, now I'm trying to really embrace and work with. But as I said, there are a lot of selenite wands, a lot of selenite towers, at least 2 or 3 salt lamps in every room, and a lot of brooms. I have brooms in every corner of this house, because I'm happy they're here, but I'd like them to stay in their area, and I'll stay in mine, because I know I grew up in a wicked negative haunted house outside of Baltimore before we moved here, and I just don't want to reenact that mayhem.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. You got to keep them at bay.
Yes.
And in the field of work that we do, people are always trying to say, well, you got to choose one side or the other. It's like, I got to respect all the elements. I can't say, oh, this one's evil or this one's great. It's like, they do what they do because they're part of nature, and I have to respect them. But I want to be comfort over here, and the troublesome ones, I don't have time for that. So let them go do their thing over there.
Yes.
But I don't bash on them or try to create that, because then you're upsetting that balance, and that's never good, especially when we're doing magical work.
Absolutely. Every once in a while, in the middle of the night, my cat is very into hugs, and he likes to be held like a baby, like this, with his belly to my belly. And every once in a while, he'll whip his head around and look at something, and I'm like, Mommy doesn't want to know, sweetie. Don't want to know. You keep that to yourself, darling. I don't want to know, because I don't want to. And when I first moved in here, I said, I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do craft here. I'm not going to do work here. I'm not going to talk about paranormal stuff on the radio here after dark. There were all these things. I wasn't going to have haunted dolls. Like, there was all this stuff I wasn't going to do. But now I found that I've learned to live peacefully with them, and I do all that stuff. I take clients at 2 a.m, and I'm fine, as long as I set those boundaries with lots of protection and warding of every room, and make sure they stay outside. But boy, can I feel them walking around the house. And every once in a while, I said, I feel one walk through the house, and that's when the kitty's like, whoa, what's that? I'm like, no, we don't talk about that. That's the first rule of haunted house, is we don't talk about haunted house.
Yeah. And I always said that for years. When I'm doing the whole paranormal thing, people are always talking about their houses and stuff. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. You can try little things. But for an investigator, I always say, if you're going to go out to all these places, don't try to sit there and investigate your own house.
No.
You're just going to see the activity, and you want to keep it. And I love haunted houses. I love being in a haunted environment.
Yeah.
The energy, it just feels homey. If I go to a hotel, I got to try to find the hauntedest room just so I can just relax and feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
But some people like to go, I just moved in here, something's going on. Bring somebody else in to, if you got a friend who's into investigating, bring them in and try some stuff, and they can go home and they can do the whole boundary thing. because once they know that you know what's going on, it's just going to be nonstop.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love your haunted house. I don't want to live in one that's mine. So I'm happy to
Yeah.
come to yours and do any work you need me to do, but I don't necessarily want to live in one. And that might be, as a matter of fact, when something happens, and occasionally something has happened. I've been here. I moved in June 4th of last year. So I've been here, almost a year and a quarter. And every once in a while, something will happen, and I'll call one of my best friends and say, I have a story for you about the house, but not for when I'm in the house. And so I wait till I'm in the
Yeah.
car or I'm at a friend's house, then I call and say, okay, here's the story. Because I found when we lived here before, and also when we lived in that insane house in Baltimore, that sometimes the more you talk about it, the more attention you give it, the more emotion you show around it, the more they stay. They get excited about the attention. So I don't give it any attention as I'm talking about it right now while I sit here, but it's also daytime.
Yeah. Yeah. When they hear it, they pick up on it, and like when I'm talking about like the realms of reality and the different elements we have, and like, because everyone's
Sure.
like, oh, everyone talks about like the other side, like it's way over there. You have to take a plane, go to the
Right.
other side.
Right.
It's like,
Exactly.
no,
Yes.
dude. Like take a piece of like a bed sheet or like a little even saran wrap. It's that thin. You can just poke your
Yes.
finger right through it at all times. We're surrounded by,
Yep.
and I tell people that if you turned on everyone's psychic abilities to full power, everybody will lose their mind because there's so
Yes.
many things going on and like things that we don't understand happening because there's a lot going on from that world that's not a part of our world.
Yes.
So every time this comes through, we're just like, what the heck? Is that a dragon? What is that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And it would be
yeah.
crazy. So people should be fortunate we have some kind of blinders on that kind of keep us bound to our reality because we go insane.
Well, and someday somebody will invent something, like an MRI machine or a CAT scan where you can look through it and you can see all of them. And then we'll see how many are there, and not just ghosts and spirits, but interdimensionals and earth spirits, elementals. I mean, all the off-worlders, all the things we're going to see. And people's minds are going to be like, it's going to be a strange day when people realize how much is really here with us that is not biological.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really it's going to be like when the aliens come, right? Everybody's going to be like, oh my God, really? It's really real? Well, of course it's really real, but let's hope they don't come. People go, oh, I hope the aliens come tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, I kind of hope they don't come. We're having a hard enough time navigating the biological personalities that are on the earth already. I don't think we need a whole bunch from another place to come and make us even more confused. Human beings get really riled up over the littlest things, so maybe not today. Did I lose you?
No, you kind of blinked out for a second, so I was waiting for it to reset.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, exactly that. There's just so much going on. And I think they're here. I just think they're holding back because they're like, hey, the primates down there are starting to talk about blowing each other up. Maybe we'll just hang out here, near the moon.
Exactly. Yes.
We got the watch station, this weird moon thing that doesn't rotate, and we're just gonna go with that. That's like their front row seat.
So like, exactly.
They're mad at each other again for no reason. Let's watch them what they're gonna do this time.
Exactly. There are troubles in our ant farm today.
Yeah, exactly that. And they must have really started freaking out when we started launching rockets into space trying to get off the planet. They're like, oh no, now what?
Yeah,
we have to deal with this. Yeah, right. That's the only part that makes sense. They might show up at one point and say, okay, hold on, you guys are doing it all wrong. We're gonna show you how to do it right so you're safe, and no explosives. That
right.
kind of stuff. Yeah. It's funny because all the chaos that's happening in the world right now, that is just creating so much disembodied energy that's happening and just feeding our world because we're all on this big planet and it's a living thing, so it's giving off energy and we're utilizing that, and all of a sudden we're all freaking out and we're giving off all this energy too. So hopefully the balance will happen pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's an ebb and flow, right? There's the calm and there's the storm and there's the calm. And I think we're in the middle of the storm right now. And and hopefully a period of calm will come after this. I mean, everything that when I tap into spirit, every message I get is about the calm that's coming after this. We just have to ride through this, and we have to realize, and I talk about this during my spiritual services all the time, that human beings, we're like special toddlers. I mean, compared to other species that are on the earth, we're just babies. My mom used to say human beings are just smart enough to be dangerous. We just know enough to cause trouble, but we haven't really figured it out. Like if you look at a crocodile who's been around millions of years, right? The crocodile just lays in the river or the lake or the swamp or wherever it is, and it just chills until it either wants to eat or make more alligators. And that's crocodiles. And that's all it does. And it knows to just like lay there and chill and enjoy its life until it's time to move for some reason. We're like spinning all the time about things that aren't even happening for no reason at all. And so I think the more time we spend on the planet, and God willing, the planet will be here, the more that we can stop spinning in a circle and develop some of that like calmer, more chill sort of behavior that species that have been here longer than us have,
Yeah. I totally get it. And I try to model my life as much as possible towards the alligator's life. Yes. I just want to kind of lay there.
Right. If I have your eyeballs out.
Yeah. If I want to eat something, and I'll deal with that, and then I go back into my resting spot just waiting for something.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
But there's so many people out there that are just panicking over everything,
Yeah.
Just like an hour ago, there was this guy on TikTok, and he's like trying to be some news guy, and he's like, why isn't no one talking about this? There's a meteor that NASA says the trajectory will definitely hit the Earth. It is 2 times the size of the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, and it's going to be here in a few months. We might not even be alive next year. And I'm thinking, oh, really? Is that a promise or something? I mean, what are they talking about? And what are we going to go do? We're going to try to make a slingshot to catch the big asteroid and send it back into outer space? Because I don't see that happening, but I'm not going to sit there and panic about it because I can't do anything about it. So I'm just going to kind of wait and see what happens and write it out. Same thing with the threats on us now. If they blow us up, game over. But until the meantime, I still have to do my thing, pay my bills, live my life as much as possible. So that's all we can really do. We can't spend the time worrying about it. I think I just lost Sheena. We're going to bring her right back in here.
I'm back. Sorry, I got a phone call on a phone that I never use. So I don't know who knew this number. Somebody wanting to sell me an extended warranty for my automobile or some kind of tax thing, because this number doesn't even really have a number. So sorry about that.
That's weird. They're trying to interrupt our call.
Exactly.
They're getting too deep. We'll have to cut that off.
Exactly. Right. If I was on a show with a psychic, they would say it's the darkness. It's the darkness. But
they're trying to cut through.
The darkness is trying to ruin us. But I agree about the people who are all about the end of the world people, right? The meteor's coming. Yeah. The sun is going to burn us all up any minute.
Totally.
We're in such an adversarial relationship with the sun. To me, the sun is our mother. We should worship her. And we're all here because of her. We live at her behest. And we should have respect for her and not always be talking about, oh, that sun, it's any minute it's going to burn us all up. And you know what? Be careful what you ask for, people.
Yeah. And why sit there worrying about it? It's always these what if situations. Like I said, the asteroid hits, it's going to land on my house. Am I going to worry about it? Game over. It'll be over in a second. If someone drops a nuclear bomb at my house because I live next to a military base, I won't even know. It'll be so fast.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to do my thing. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, cool. Yes. What's up now? That kind of.
Yeah, I live next town over is the naval base, and ever since the war broke out in Israel, there's been the most gigantic, looming, terrifying looking battleship you've ever seen. Parked in the naval port where there's usually nothing. This thing has 2 towers on it, cylindrical towers that are about 6 stories high. I mean, it is the biggest thing. And so I looked at my friends the other night. We were talking about it, and I said, well, I guess we know if there's going to be a war, we'll go quick, because we're so close to it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think if there's that kind of a war, don't you want to go quick? Wouldn't that be the idea rather than wander around with one eyeball hanging out for 100 years?
Yeah, rotting away and stuff. No, take me out
Exactly.
early.
Yes.
Get me out of there, put me on the sideline, send me home, whatever. Just
yes.
I have no time to worry about it. And it's true. I live by a military base. They've been on high alert all the time. And I'm driving to go to Taco Bell and stuff. And I'm parking there, and my windows are down. All you hear is just gunfire, just nonstop, rifles going off, and just crazy. And everyone's like looking around, going, "What the heck? Are we being invaded?" But they're training and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so and that just makes all the people on the residential sites start to panic and worry, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, oh my god, what are we gonna do?" It's like you're just gonna go live your life. You're gonna go to the grocery store, buy groceries,
exactly.
At night,
exactly.
Go to work in the morning. Nothing you can do. I mean, we're sideline people.
Exactly. Yeah. Although my girlfriend lives across the street from that naval base. And it was awfully surprising to me in the beginning, because growing up in Huntington, one town over, you couldn't hear it at like 6 o'clock in the morning, hearing emergency. And one morning it was tsunami. And I'm like, oh my God, am I going to, because it's this big loudspeaker. But then I had to realize, like you just said, that they do tests and they have to test those speakers. And so part of it is they have to scare the crap out of you at 6 a.m. Because what if there was a tsunami? They want to get you out of bed and you start running away from the ocean. So,
well, they used to put that in the paper back in the days. Oh, there's going to be a test on this day, blah blah. But who reads the paper anymore?
I know.
You know, when I'm watching Comedy Central, no one's making announcements about my warnings.
I know. Yeah.
And I totally get it. I'm 13 feet above sea level. So a tsunami comes, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm below sea level, so I think I go first. I'll swim over to you, and then because the PCH, like I said, the beach is here, and then the wetlands are below the beach, and then we're below the wetlands. The nice thing is that, like when Tropical Storm Hillary came and everything was blowing over, we had almost nothing because we live in that pocket where the wetlands protect us. But I would imagine if the ocean overflows before we get flooded, it will flood the wetlands, and the wetlands will have to flood for us to flood. But I think a tsunami, just everybody goes. So
it's one of those things, living on the coast, you know. And if people are worried about it, why did they buy houses on the coast?
I feel exactly the same way. My mother panicked about it till the day she died. She had stuff in her trunk. She was sure that tsunami was going to come. 2 blocks away, you go up a giant hill, and that's the hill part of Huntington Beach. So if you had to get in your car and go, you could be up away from the tsunami in, 5 minutes. But because that area up there, that was the native shamanic ground. And then down low here in the marsh, we were the burial ground.
Traffic. I mean, then you have a problem.
Honey, nobody lives here. This place is like, seriously, my mom used to say you could walk up and down the street in Huntington Beach naked with dollar bills stuck to you with honey, and nobody would even pay attention to you. And I think that's kind of true. Like if I see a car at night drive down my street, I'm telling you, I live in this strange little pocket. I told my friend the other night that it reminds me of, have you ever seen the movie Pumpkinhead? It reminds me of the knoll where Ed Harley had to bury his son so the Pumpkinhead would come. Like I live in the Pumpkinhead knoll. But then you go a couple of minutes away and you're right in the middle of civilization, and you go 10 minutes and you're right in downtown Huntington, and there's the hotels and everything. It's very strange, but it's something that as a young person, I was like, I'm not growing. This is crazy. I'm going to LA. There's nobody here. But, now in my 50s, I'm kind of like, this is kind of lovely to live in this sort of tranquil place.
Peaceful. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's why I like being by the beach, And it's funny because literally, it's the end of the block here.
Yeah.
And I never really go. I go once in a while, but I don't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But at night, I'll sit on my backyard. We'll have like the fire pit going on, and it's all nice outside. You can feel the ocean breeze. You can hear the waves crashing.
It's beautiful. Yes.
Foghorn. I'm like, dude, I'm totally in my peace zone right now. This is so great. So peaceful. It's right there, and I can feel the energy from it. It's so great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. I do it every night since I moved back here. My best friend lives in downtown, and when I leave, I go have dinner at her place and hang out. And when I leave, I go the long way and take PCH home. And I pretty much drive the length of Huntington Beach, turn around, come back, drive the other way, and go back. So I get to see the ocean at night every single day. And I think from a spiritual perspective, that's incredibly renewing. And sometimes if I've got like 10 clients in a day, I'll take a break in the middle and take that drive to sort of refresh my spiritual palette, because the energy of people can be a lot. And there's something about just looking at the ocean with your sunroof open and your windows down. It just sort of resets everything.
Yeah. It's like the breeze is making everything new again. Like all the
It's
stuff, all my
amazing.
stress from the day, it's just being blown away,
Yes.
onto my neck.
Yes. And I think it's something, and I'm not trying to say this to be exclusive in any way, but I think it's a thing that if you don't live at the beach, you don't get it. You don't understand the magic. And every night as I'm driving, I think, why in the world did I go away for 30 years? But, you have to do what you got to do. And I have the career that I have today because I made that move. But it was just time to come home,
Yeah. Sometimes we do that. We go on an adventure to see what it's like over there, and then we start becoming homesick, and we find ourselves migrating back to where we started from.
Absolutely.
Home is home.
You can go home again.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the beginning. One of the things I like to do on the show is everyone has that experience about how they got involved in the paranormal or what led them to the paranormal, so to speak. Tell us a little bit about your background story and how it all started for you.
So my mother was a psychic medium, but she never talked about it till I was in college. But we always knew there was something different about her. And she was very much a magnet for people. People would sit down next to her in a car dealership and tell her their whole life story. So I grew up sort of following her around and seeing that in her and thinking she was the most magical human because she had this ability to draw people out. And then when I was about 5 or 6 years old and kids started following me around on the playground at school, I was like, oh, I guess I have this also. But I didn't think of it as any kind of spiritual gift. I was born in Connecticut. When I was 5, we moved to Chicago. My dad was a design engineer for Brunswick. And so he got transferred to plants where they needed him. And so when I was 5, we moved to Chicago. And I started seeing what I thought were imaginary friends that I now believe were spirits, because they weren't kids. They were like older people. And I was born with this odd fascination with Abraham Lincoln. I mean, really bad. Everywhere that he lived or died or went, by the time I was 5 years old, I think I had dragged my mother all over the country to go to those places. And sometimes I would just sit there and cry when I looked at him. I remember when they took me to the Lincoln Monument for the first time, they bought me my first little black and white camera. And I didn't know that you had to reset it after every photo. So all the photos are like quadruple exposed. But I would look at the Lincoln Monument and just bawl. And when other kids wanted to go to Disney World, I wanted to go see his blood on the pillow across from the theater. So that's something that kind of haunted me my whole life and still does. And interestingly enough, my best friend, who I fell into through her cousin, who I know, and her son are historical reenactors, and they run the Historical Society in my hometown that I've for many years been on their board of directors. And they're the custodians for the most haunted house in Huntington Beach. So this sort of Abraham Lincoln life just sort of followed me. And then, all things Victorian, England, anything that had to do with that time period, I just didn't seem to be able to shake. And I never thought of that as any kind of spiritual gifts until I really came to terms with my gifts and started looking backwards. For me, consciously, it all started when I was 23 and I had a near-death experience. I was in a freeway accident and I had a near-death experience. And I started seeing shadow figures out of the corners of my eyes. I started being able to, I always say that when I look at people, it's like they have a mouth here and they have a mouth in their solar plexus, and both of them are talking and they're not always saying the same thing. So I would start to get these energetic conversations from people that were not coming from what they were speaking. And still I thought, well, my intuition just grew. By then I knew that my mother was a psychic, and she was such an intense, like, she would say the phone's going to ring in 7 minutes and your grandmother's dead. And then it did. So I figured, oh, my gifts were just like silly. Or, well, then when I was in my early 40s, I helped my partner at the time run their spiritual practice. And I realized that I was sort of answering the client's questions, because, you can hear somebody through an iPhone, you can hear the other side of the conversation. And I was getting so many messages about these people that were calling in and for appointments. And I was thinking, man, this is something that I am so drawn to. But I still sort of like stuffed it down, because I figured the minute I came out with my gifts, they would, ride me out of the entertainment business on a rail, and that would be the end of everything. And then in 2009, I started at a new radio place station where I was interviewing people. And that's when the two conversations really became very clear. And I would finish an interview and people would say, what did you just do to me? And I'd say, I don't know. We just did some radio. No. You did something. And that, combined with the fact that I started having a lot of people from the paranormal and spiritual worlds on my show, to kind of, in a lot of ways, heal through what happened in that haunted house. And friends of mine that were mediums started calling me out, like, so when are you going to come out of the psychic closet and start working? And I'm like, what? Never. And then it just became more apparent that was where my life was heading. And when my mom died in 2016, one of her first messages to me was, okay, kid, now it's your turn. Why aren't you doing this work? And so I opened my spiritual practice. I thought, probably no one's ever going to call me. And then it just became amazing. And it's if I believed in regrets, which I don't, I would say I should have been doing this work my whole life. I did do a lot of this work my whole life, but I did it not professionally and not knowing what I was doing, just thinking that I was helping people. But to me, the most beautiful thing in the world is to be in service. And so, more and more, my spiritual life has taken over. I always say it's like this has always fueled my life. But now it's like I wear my underwear on the outside where everybody can see it. And then COVID hit, right? And everything shut down. And my practice just flourished because people suddenly had time and COVID money to ask all the questions they always wanted to ask. And so, this part just grew and grew. And then I moved here to this crazy energetic house. I moved back here, and it's like my spiritual life just grows and grows and grows. And lo and behold, nobody threw me out of the entertainment world. Everybody's been, for the most part, very embracing.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
And I think it happens at a right time, like
yes.
All this stuff is ripening, and then when it's fully ripe, it's just ready.
Yes.
And for you, you're, like you said, you were doing this work prior to actually doing the work.
Yes.
You're just your natural habits, the way you are, the way you communicate with people. There's a connection thing going on there,
Yes.
And then you're afraid to come out and start doing it. But when you did it, that whole spiritual resurgence started happening. And so it was like the right time. It's like, here we are, we're moving forward. This is the right time. And that's all of a sudden, bam, things just start hitting your way.
And it's so important that we listen to what spirit wants for us, and we stay open and we walk the path as they give us the guidelines for where to go. And I say that because when my mom passed in 2016, I didn't know what to do. I was so numb because she was my best friend. I didn't know how I could breathe without her here. So I just sort of stopped pushing and started letting things come to me and started letting spirit tell me where the right place to go was. And as things at that time in my entertainment world, I kept sort of hitting glass ceilings and not moving forward. All these things in my spiritual life were moving forward. And I just kept saying yes to things and walking in the direction of opportunities that were coming. And I think it sort of led me in a direction that I might have been scared to go in had I not made that sacrifice and done that surrender work. Of, yes, as humans, part of the just being smart enough to be dangerous, right, is we think we always know what's good for us. I'm going to make my own life, man.
Yeah.
But the truth is, spirit has so much great stuff for us. And we just need to trust that it's going to happen. And we just need to sometimes just stand there open and let the things fall into our crown chakra that are supposed to happen. And so I just stopped deciding what I was going to do and just started saying yes to things that were in front of me. And it became a very easy and beautiful road. And I'm lucky that I had my mom's guidance. I'm lucky that I had Spirit's guidance. And I'm thankful to myself that I listened and didn't do some stubborn thing where I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to do this. And even now people say, what are you doing next year? And I'm like, I don't know. When Spirit tells me, I'll tell you. There are a lot of things that I would like to do. There are a lot of things that Spirit tells me this is coming up in the future, but I don't ask when anymore. I just deal with what I'm dealing with today and just move forward and don't panic and just trust that I'm going to be taken care of. It's worked so far. And I think it will continue to work,
Absolutely. And it's funny because you're saying that people try to control their destiny. You know, even though they know they should be going this way, they're like, no, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do this. You can fight it all you want, but there's like a current that just kind of brings you back. All of a sudden, you're back to square one, and you're facing the same situation. Like you can run around it all you want, but you're still going to go this way because this is the destiny, and Spirit has this in mind for you. This is best for you. So it's just live your life, and just kind of do the things that you love, and it'll all come together for you. I tell that to everybody.
And I always tell this story. So I grew up in when this area that I live in now was extremely. They used to call it the California Bible Belt. It was extremely evangelical. And so I rebelled against that because I didn't grow up that way. That wasn't who I was. And my mother was always spiritual as long as I had known. My father was a lapsed Catholic who had become an atheist. So I didn't grow up in a house where you had to go to church. I wouldn't even say God when I lived down here. I'd always say the universe. Now I'm very comfortable with God or whatever. They're all the same term, and all roads lead to the light, right? It's all the same thing.
Yep.
So when Spirit gave me in a Walmart parking lot down here, oddly enough, in 2017, the hit that I was going to become a minister, I thought, you got to be kidding me. I don't even want to be a minister. I don't know how to be a minister. I don't understand what that means. All my friends had gone and gotten their universal life ordination to marry their gay friends. And I'm like, I don't even want to do that. I don't care about that. So a couple weeks after it happened, pre-COVID, I used to broadcast my daily radio show live from the Hollywood Improv 4 times a year. And it was my radio anniversary, which is in August. So I was there broadcasting. And from the stage, I said, and I got this crazy hit to be a minister. And I don't know how that's going to happen. And everybody started laughing because everybody knew me. And that night after the show, this gentleman who a friend of mine brought came up to me and said, were you serious about the minister thing? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I'm the dean of American Trinity University. And why don't we work together and I'll ordain you? And I thought, okay. So he did. And I became an ordained minister at American Trinity. And I thought, well, that's the end of that. And I don't know what to do now. So I had started a nonprofit to honor my mom and to kind of carry on her teachings. It's raisingthevibration.org.
Cool.
Another hit from Spirit. I founded it on her birthday, the year that she died, November 9th. And I figured that I was just that was my ministry and that was all there was. So I started doing gatherings where I would put people together like in a theater or someplace and we would talk about raising the vibration. And the first time that I did one, a friend of mine who was this kind of old, she's just passed, God love her, this old kind of broady actress who you never would thought would ever have set foot in a church, came to me afterwards and said, this thing that you're doing, you need to be a minister. And I said, well, I've recently become one. And she said, no, you need to have a church. And I said, well, I don't think any church would take my woo-woo interfaith self. And she said, no, we know somebody who's a minister. And she put me in touch with a mutual friend of ours who was a minister for the Metropolitan Community Church. And he said, well, I've retired, but I tell you what, we've got a brand new senior pastor and I'm going to bring him on your radio show. So the two of them came and did my radio show. And a week later, I'm sitting in Jerry's Deli. God rest Jerry's Deli's soul. I'm sitting in Jerry's Deli with this man I don't know, and he offers me this monthly service at the church. And I've been there now for 4.5 years. And being a minister is one of the things I'm the most proud of in my life. So isn't that weird how Spirit just kept opening the doors, right? And I just kind of reluctantly kept stumbling through. And I think what you talked about is really great, because it's an earthbound concept. We're culturalized as human beings to go out and get that thing we want and push and knock that door down and make it happen. But those are earthbound concepts, and they're almost very opposite to what Spirit wants, which is just get yourself ready, stay calm, surrender to the everything, and we'll let you know when it's time for the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So now I just live like that.
That's great that you have that opportunity and you live that experience. And it's like you never, prior to that, you would never expected to go that direction. All of a sudden,
oh God, no!
Here we go. We're taking this road. Where's this road?
Yeah, yeah.
All of a sudden, and I have kind of the same story. You know, I wanted when I got married, my wife wanted to get married in the Catholic Church. You know, when I was really young, I was all about Jesus and God and all this stuff. And my parents were not religious at all. Not at all. And they have no idea where that obsession of mine came from. It was just a thing. You know, I got a connection going on. I'm feeling this thing. And I'm like, yeah, awesome. Yeah, awesome. So, you know, I got older and got involved with other things. The big music thing took off. So I'm doing all this other stuff and not really focusing on that. So my wife wants to get married in the Catholic Church. I'm like, okay, let's do this. And I got to go get finish sacraments and all that stuff. So I'm doing these classes, and it's very interesting. They're initiation classes. But I'm hearing them talk, and they're not sure what they're talking about a little bit because they're going through from this book. I'm like, well, hold on. That story relates to this story. And I would just start going off about all these different things, you know, that I learned growing up. And they're like, wow, this guy knows a lot of stuff. So after I graduated the class and got married, they approached me and said, hey, you know, what would you think about being a teacher or filling in for a little while for the adult teacher? And I'm all, sure, you know, it's across the street, no big deal. So I started doing that, and I started inviting all these people, and started growing and growing and growing. All of a sudden, I got really deeply involved with it. I became a minister and all that stuff, and ordained. And it's funny because I would have never expected that. And somebody put that out. Well, you know, the Holy Spirit is doing this.
Yes.
It's not your choice, not your path. The reason why you're sitting here in this chair is because of that.
Yes.
They think you should do this. That's why you were here.
Yes.
And it only made sense. And I'm like, yeah, because I would have never expected to even gone that far. I would have got married and said, later, guys, whatever. But like, no, I feel calling here. I feel comfortable here. I'm talking about what I know. People get it. And I'm a total church wild card. I'm a wild looking guy, and I'm a rock and roller.
Yeah.
The whole TV thing. So, and I shoot from the hip. So I explain things in a certain way, and the people go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, yeah, you know, the Spirit, man, it's all about you. You're a part of it. You're intertwined. So you can get whatever you want. Just be open to it and let it do its magic for you. You know, follow your path, your dreams, and it's all going to come to you, you know? Positivity.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And I think but I think people like us that are healers, right? Natural healers, we're the people that should be ministers. But I think that maybe we were raised with an idea different than what a minister should be. And the interesting thing is Keith, our senior pastor, he and I have become like, you know, he's like my brother. And he came from a very evangelical background where he was raised in the South to be very frightened of metaphysical people. And I had developed this, and I'll admit it, prejudice when I lived down here from being bullied by so many evangelical people because I wasn't one. So now because of him, I am very comfortable saying God. I'm very comfortable saying that I'm a Christian. I mean, I'm a progressive Christian. I'm an interfaith Christian. He has become very okay with talking about his own spiritual gifts and metaphysical things. And he always says, where you say spirit, it lines up with what we learn about the Holy Spirit, which is what I thought about when you said Holy Spirit. And we've kind of met each other in the middle. And weirdly enough, the first year that I did my Saturday Night Spiritual, my monthly service there, the November service fell on November 9th, which is my mother's birthday, and it is the anniversary of my nonprofit. And I said, you know what? I've never been baptized. My mom did not baptize me because she believed that kids should choose for themselves. I never intended in my entire life to be baptized or to become a church member. But that night during my service, he did my baptism. It was super beautiful. My best friend sang, and my other friend played the piano, and we sang together. It was like this total feel-good thing on Mom's birthday, which I think is awesome. And I joined the church. So for the first time in my life, I have all these things I never thought I would have. And I didn't have to change my life or give anything up in my life to become those things. And I think that's an important thing for people to know, right? When the right thing is right for you, you don't have to change your whole life for it. It will fit into your life, and it'll make your life better.
Absolutely. I was worried about it too, because, I'm well known for the paranormal stuff, and you could just look me up on Google, and all of a sudden it's all, ghost adventures, ghost hunters,
right, exactly.
Oh my gosh, the father's going to freak out if he sees that. But I became really good friends with some of these guys at the church, and they are not against it. I have these guys, and they're just like talking about, sometimes like when the spirit of grandpa comes to visit and the child's telling you that, and I'm like listening to sermons, I'm like, wow. I was taught as a kid that this is all taboo. Stay away. But it's not. They're totally progressive. They're modern day. They get it. Spirits get lost. They try to help them. I've had a couple of them even try to do work with me and stuff. And like I said, I'm the wild card. And they're sending me to go to these places with the bishop and stuff.
Nice.
I'm like, why? You want me to go to LA and hang out with
good.
What am I doing here? But they get it. They totally get it. And it's like not what people think. It's like, spirit, the white light. It's all part of everything.
Absolutely.
I teach at a magical university, the University of Magic, with Father Sebastian and Patty Negri. We all do the stuff together. And that's even acceptable now. People like card reading. Oh my God, blah blah blah. You're worshiping cards. It's like no, that's not what it is. Obviously, these are just tools to help you figure out what's going on. To help you get the decisions you want to do. It's nothing taboo.
Well, I had a friend that used to say in the Deep South, the tradition has always been you go to church in the morning and you go to the hoodoo practitioner in the afternoon. So a lot of times people were leaving the church and going to whatever the metaphysical practitioner was and just not telling anybody about it. And I just think now it's more open that you can do it. And for me, I always say during my services that all paths paved in good lead us to the light. So anything that falls under that white light umbrella, just do your thing. And I talk a lot during my sermons also because people don't understand what interfaith means, about what I like to call the spiritual salad bar. And it's like when you go to a salad bar, and I love a salad bar, you can't take everything, and you don't want to take everything. So you take the things you like and you make your plate, and your friends do the same. And then you sit in a room with a bunch of people that have all made their plate, and everybody's plate is different. And that's really how your spirituality is too. You can call yourself a Christian or call yourself Jewish or Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist or atheist or agnostic, but also there are other things that probably don't fit under that small umbrella that you are also part of your spiritual palette, and you're allowed to have those things too and build your plate any way that you want. And I think once you think of it like that, it takes all of that pressure off of you, and then you can just find the things that you resonate with and do those things.
Absolutely. It's good. And I love the whole salad bar thing, because I always talk about that. People say, well, you do this and you do this and you even do a little bit of this. I'm like, yeah, I've gone through my life learning about the spirit and stuff and the different cultures and religions, and I see what it is. I'm like, oh, these are really cool right here. Let me put that in my basket.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy over here, some of this Buddhist stuff. Let me put a little bit of that in there, and big Wicca stuff. Like, oh, yeah, look at all this white light I'm going to throw in my big basket. It's like just build my own thing that works best for me. And spirit says, okay, this is what you want to do. Let's run with it. We're going to go this direction. And it's for everybody, And I try to stay away from negative things because I don't have time for the negativity, because that'll slow you down and get in the way. It's like, no, let's move on.
Yeah. I never thought I would practice magic. And when my mom died, she was a Scorpio, and Scorpios have secrets. I was cleaning out her office, and I found like this wand, and I found a bag of sage and a bag of dragon's blood and this tiny little cauldron. It looked like the thing you do a soft boiled egg in, and this thing and a feather. And I called Patty, and she was the first person I called, and I said, what is all this stuff? Like, she's like, I think your mom was practicing. I had no idea. And then I thought, oh, well, first of all, why didn't she ever tell me? Because we told each other everything. And secondly, oh, that's kind of my legacy. So it made me sort of realize that's a part of who I am too. And I started doing a lot more things in that direction. I mean, I am by no chance the kind of witch that my witch friends are. I haven't spent years and years and years practicing craft, but I do ceremonies and spells for the uplift of the world and for healing, and I love it. And I feel like I have my mom beside me when I did it, but I had no idea that was something that she did. You learn things about you all the time, and that's the great thing about the spiritual salad bar, right? Is that you don't have to even know you like something, but then you might try it one day and realize that you love it. I always laugh that I never had sushi till my 40th birthday. My mom loved Chinese food, but she was scared of raw fish, so we didn't eat sushi when I was a kid. And now it's one of my favorite things, but I never had it till I was 40. It wasn't really a thing on the East Coast before we moved here. And then I think there was one place in town that had it growing up when I was a kid here. So, yeah, I mean, you can at any time in your life decide you're in love with something, and that's great. And I think it's so important that we don't set all these limitations on our life. I'm never going to do this and I'm never going to do that. Okay, well, sometimes spirit has other ideas, and they're snickering a little.
Yeah. You're just kind of going through the motions, like, watch, she's going to go that direction. Look, see, told you.
Exactly. That. Yep.
So I got lucky growing up as a kid. My mother was part of the spiritualist movement in the early 70s. Nice. So she had all the reference books. Her library was incredible. And I'm always reading all this stuff. So I grew up with that. But I was also baptized as a Catholic, so I knew my Catholic stuff. So I'm doing all the Wicca reading and the white magic stuff. And my mom grew up in the Jewish suburbs of Manhattan. Mm. So she was very much into the Jewish culture. We had little menorahs and all these things.
Yeah.
So just a lot of that going on. And then she was into a lot of the Buddhist thinking as well. So I just got all that from her. I'm just learning all these different great things about these different pieces. And it just kind of helped shape who I am today and what I'm doing now. So I think I got lucky, because a lot of people are still out there searching for what they want to do, what they want to move with. It's like, wow.
I agree.
I'm lucky. You're lucky. See, you found all that stuff.
I consider myself lucky because my mom, when I was this big, said to me, "And you have any questions, you come and ask me. And if I don't know the answer, we'll figure it out together." So everything was okay. The craziest dream I had, this weird thought I had about spirituality, I could sit down and ask her about those things, and she would answer. And she was great. I remember once I was dating this guy when I first got out of college, and he had done a lot of like mushrooms and peyote and LSD. And he said to me once, how did you come to all these spiritual conclusions, and you've never been on a trip? I said, well, because I just was allowed to ask questions growing up and get answers. I think a lot of people grow up with a lot of things being off limits, so they shut that channel that brings the spiritual messages in. They shut it down, and sometimes psychedelics or marijuana or whatever it is, a tragic experience, sometimes an accident or a near-death experience, kind of flies that channel open. But I'm so thankful when I see a lot of the things that my friends have been through at the hands of organized religions in many cases. I'm so happy that wasn't put on me, so I didn't have to rebel against that or feel guilty about it or feel like I'm doing something my mom wouldn't approve of. I just feel so thankful that she raised me so open, and I know you're thankful for that too with yours.
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference, and for those who are watching and listening, you guys can reach out to me if you want to ask about that. You can also reach out to Sheena. She'll be glad to help you. And like I've been posting, if you guys look at the bottom here, you can go to www.sheenametalspiritual.com.
Yep.
And you can contact her there. You can sign up for readings. There's some workshop stuff. A lot of interesting things you can find out and learn about. And I'm sure if you write her a question or whatever, she'll get back to you and help you guys out.
Absolutely.
That's what we're all here for. We're all here to bring us all together. We're all brothers and sisters in spirit. So we got to stick together, and we're glad to help those who are finding that journey and getting closer. You know, if we can help, please don't hesitate to hit us up.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, and I'm on social media everywhere, just at Sheena Metal, and I'm very accessible by phone. My number is 818-437-0886. I think I answer text messages faster because the phone's always with me. But yeah, I mean, it's part of my ministry. You can text me at 3 a.m, 6 a.m, noon. Like there's no off limit times to send me a message. And yes, I do sleep. I just turn the phone off when I'm sleeping. Yeah. But to me, that's part of my ministry, because a lot of people just need you to tell them everything's going to be okay. You know, I have a client right now that texts me every day. Her sister is very critical. She's also a client of mine. And she just texts me every 2-3 times a day to have me tell her it's going to be okay. And I think that we're so lucky to do this work that that's part of our outreach, is to just be there when people need you. It takes a second and a half to send a text message back, you know?
Absolutely. And that's good. Yeah. So if you send me a text message at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's all good, but I'm not going to get back to you until I wake up around 9 or 10 or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. You might not hear back from me till then, but sometimes I get up in the morning to go to the bathroom and I just answer the text messages and go back to sleep. So
yeah, there you go. So we'll definitely get back to you. It's just got to give us a chance to get to it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. So what's new and coming up for you?
I'm excited to start teaching live workshops again. I'm going to start that next month. Cool. I'm going to start in the winter. I'm going to be doing maybe a 2 or 3 day live event from the haunted house that happens here in my hometown. Probably a seance night, a couple of workshop nights. I want to teach my empath. I call it empath recovery workshop. Why do I feel everything? And I also have a spiritual protection workshop, take good care of yourself, that I want to teach. And then next year, I'm hoping to do more conferences and paracons. I've just founded a paranormal society in my hometown, Surf City Paranormal Society. We're at surfcityparanormal.com, and I've got some great people that I've lined up, some that I went to high school with, that are going to be working with me to investigate. Because when we were growing up, it was so evangelical here, you could never talk about it. So the haunted history of Huntington is kind of a new thing that's just come to light. And I'm so excited to be here. So I'm going to be doing that. And I'm working on my first book. And I'm excited about that being done. And there's so many things that are on the list, right? It's just when Spirit tells me what time is for what.
That's right. Got to keep your schedule, and I'll keep you on it.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Well, make sure you let us know when that stuff all comes out, and we'll read back on, and we'll do some promoting, let people know what's going on.
Sounds good.
We are at our last minute here, so we are going to have to wrap. Sheena, thank you so much for coming on and joining us on the show.
Thank you, my friend.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
You too.
And even when I did a couple of your shows, it was so nice and easy, and it went by so fast.
Please come back anytime.
All right. Thank you so much. Make sure you guys go to her website and check it out. This has been My Darkest Hour. You're listening to Live Paranormal, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Player FM, all those guys that keep the show going, and I appreciate all of them. Of course, you can follow me on Paraflix and University Magicus, where you can learn about the magic and learn about all the things that we just talked about.
Yay!
So come and join us. All right, Sheena. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, my friend. You betcha. Right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, you guys, that's going to be it for this edition of My Darkest Hour. Make sure you go ahead and check out the audio at liveparanormal.com, and of course, come back and you can see us after that on the YouTube channel, showing the actual conversations between me And Sheena, don't forget to go visit her at SheenaMetalSpiritual.com. And we will see you guys next time right here on My Darkest Hour.